We're live.
Good evening. Today is Tuesday, August 6th, and we have a meeting of the Personnel, Finance, and Auxiliary Services Committee. There is a possibility that a quorum of the full membership of the Board of Education may be in attendance at board committee meetings. There will be no full board action taken at any committee meeting. Only members of the committee may vote on any item on the agenda. A live broadcast will be streamed on the on the school district's YouTube page. To watch the recorded meeting, please visit our school district of Menominee Falls YouTube site. It is 5:23, and we are meeting in Village Hall, upper level conference room 3344/45 at West 156 North 8480 Pilgrim Road. And I'm calling this meeting to order. And has the meeting been properly posted?
Yes.
Okay. First order of business is the approval of the minutes from the July 1st meeting. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion.
Okay, motion by Ms. Holzman and
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Wappert. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Moving on through the agenda, discussion item, the first item is the owner's representative for the CE and Rec Riverside Building Project.
Yes, so during our July 1st committee meeting, we discussed the appointment of an owner's representative for the entire duration of our CE and Rec and Riverside project. This discussion followed consultations between the district and our attorneys at Atolis, who had recommended hiring on an owner's representative for this project. We then asked our attorneys for any recommendations of owners reps, and they recommended Kurt Wiebelhaus, who is here tonight and is the Director of Building Solutions. And over the last few weeks, we have been utilizing Kurt's services to assist with our contract negotiations with BJS, who are our construction management company, and EUA, who are our architects. So his involvement has been very beneficial up to this point. The district recommended extending Kurt's services for the entire duration of the project during the July 1st committee meeting. But after some discussion, we decided it would be beneficial for Kurt to present his services in more detail to the committee to answer any questions that you might have. So with that, I want to thank Kurt for coming tonight, and I'll hand it over to him to take it from here.
Great, thanks Matt. I appreciate the opportunity to present to the committee here. Before I start with the presentation, I want to just ask the committee a question to help me understand and make sure I am tailoring the presentation to what you guys are most interested in. So occasionally when I present to a new client or a board, they're very familiar with an owner's rep. They've been involved in a major project and really understand the value of that. But more often I present, because large projects don't come by all the time, right? So more often it's the latter where you haven't worked with an owner's rep. So I'm curious, have any of you worked with an owner's rep? And what are some of the concerns or questions that you have that I can make sure I address?
So I actually have probably most experience of all this here. I'm involved in many projects. I'm involved in a $12 million expansion in Washington County right now. Also worked at Reinders. We did multiple store locations, so we hired owners reps for that. One question and concern I had right away is coming into this project before or after all this stuff has been set. You know, we got price per square foot. We have all this stuff done already. I mean, how comfortable are you with that? Is there any value you can bring since some of the stuff's already been negotiated? That's kind of some of my kind of questions.
Good. Excellent.
Hi Kurt, my name is Chris Stuland. My husband Joel, you know my husband Joel Stuland.
Oh yeah, yes.
You work together at
I have,
BJS. So I live with an owner's rep.
She trumps me.
I share a house with him. No, I'm married to him. But I get information from him and how he runs things and his projects, and he's been doing owner's rep for about going on 5 years. But I guess one of my questions would be, and he does commercial construction, but one of my questions would, I have a few, like how many hours per week would you average for a project like that for 9 million? And then And then also about 9 million. And then some of your examples on here, are these based on about $9 million projects or?
The examples are large, those, I think the two that I provided, one was a $50 million project, the other was a $30 million project, so,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay,
Good, I'll make sure I hit the hours per week.
okay,
Any other?
Along with the hours per week, you know, your services include like being at the weekly meetings, you know, with the construction teams, the architects, you know, and all that stuff as well.
They will, and I'll go into a little more detail on that, so, great, excellent, that helped me, I appreciate it. So, I'd like to just start like, what is an owner's representative? What is our services? What do we do? The best way to think about us is we become an extension of your own internal team. Somebody that has expertise in construction finance, in the legal aspect of construction, just how stuff is put together, communications, real estate development, there's a little bit of a component with that with working with the city, right? Working through some of those pieces. And then the operations side of operating a school. So we have understanding and detailed understanding of all those areas. And so we supplement then, because you as a school district doesn't have that individual that has all those information, right? So now we'll become your advocate, looking out for your best interest in all those different areas as you navigate the project. And then the second piece is relieving the burden on your own internal staff, right? Each, you know, from the finance side, superintendent, facility, Kristen facilities, they all have their operational jobs to do, and when you have a major construction project, it adds demands to their daily schedule. So it's important they're still very involved, but we help, it's leverage me to help make sure that the decisions that they're making, we're streamlining those decisions. I'm helping give them guidance there. So those are kind of two big areas. The background, just to give a little bit of background about myself, and why we are so good at what we do in the school district area, is I started my career in construction management as a construction manager, right? So I worked as a project manager, started around 2000. So I was kind of on the other side of the table. We built schools, renovated schools, and also did other types of clients as well. There's two things that were drilled into me as a young project manager, and it's with any project manager, any company. And that first one was, you need to service your clients, right? The people you're doing work for, you need to service them and do everything you can to go above and beyond. And the second thing was, construction's a risky business. There's a ton of things that can go wrong in construction, and the way you stay as a successful project manager or construction manager is you use the contract to your advantage, and you protect your profits along the way, right? They're in business to make profit, and so those two pieces stuck with me all the way through and until now, because I know that's what drives the construction management firm. And as an owner's representative, I don't have, the construction managers need to make money, right? So that's a key piece, but what we bring as an owner's representative is often what I would see is they use a contract for their advantage, and then the one that suffers, the one that loses is the client, the school district in that case. So we're looking out, that's where we're looking out for your best interest, making sure that we, that everything is transparent in construction. I'm gonna talk about, there's 14 different ways they can make a profit on a job, right? If I asked you, what are you paying your construction manager, you'll throw out, well, the fee, right? Well, that's just one of the 14 ways. So we bring the transparency to the project. We wanna make sure we know how profits are made, and so if you don't know how it's made, how do you manage it, right? So we're managing that piece of it. So moving on from my 10 years as a construction manager, I then went to work for one of my clients, which was the school district, Mukwonago Area School District. So I was their facility director for Mukwonago. And so that experience of construction management and then the facility director is like a perfect blend for what I do now as an owner's representative, specific for school districts. When I started, shortly after I started, we started working on our referendum project for the high school, major high school project. And that was like the first for me, is like, wow, this is, with the knowledge that I have on construction and bringing that to a school district, how much of a difference I could make for McGuanago School District going through that project. Negotiating contracts, putting requests for proposals out there, but also adding synergy to the team, knowing what the construction managers need, so I'm making sure they're getting those needs fulfilled, and reducing those constraints so they can do what they do best, which is build. So as that time went on for McGuanago, about 2017, so I was with them for about 5 years, and just loving it, enjoying what I was doing, making a difference, using my experience from construction management, making a difference for the school district. I made a decision that I wanted to do this for other school districts as well. So at that time, the superintendent and business manager from McGuanago were very supportive. They saw the gift that I had, the talent that I had, with helping them on their projects, so they supported me. I continued with finishing their referendum project in the high school, but then started working with other school districts as an owner's representative. If you're familiar with McGuanago, if you ever drive by there or take a tour, there's two areas that stick out on that project from the 2016 referendum. One of them is that front entrance to the athletic facility. It wasn't part of the original project to start. But I can go back to the things that we did, the difference I made using my gifts with managing and facilitating the project. Because we were able to save dollars on areas of the project, we made that entrance to the athletic facility a possibility. So we added it to the project, right? So rather than the old shack that used to be there, some masonry ticket booths, ornamental fencing, just a very attractive curb appeal. The second area that I go back to, that gives me a lot of satisfaction of by me being able to help the district, the culinary lab was able to be done. We were able to have dollars at the end of the project, wasn't part of the original plan. And so when if you walk inside the building, you see the beautiful stainless steel, commercial looking culinary lab. And where I get the satisfaction is to know that I use those skills during the project that save dollars and allow us to allocate it to the lab, which puts students, that draw students to the classroom, draw staff to the classroom, and now I'm confident there are students that are doing that as a profession. And so that's what it's about. What I am doing as an owner's representative, allowing you as a school district to do more with the funds that you have available, and improve more spaces. So that's a little bit about my background. From there, then obviously I went to that as an owner's rep for other school districts. But having that construction management and operational side was what makes us so valuable to school districts. The next two words in the slide, journey plus results. Everything we do as an owner's representative falls underneath those two categories. I'm going to talk mostly about the journey. So the journey is where I'm saying relieving the burden of your own internal staff with operations, so they can pay attention to the operations side and not get overwhelmed with the construction side. Just making it a better process for the district. And then I'll say a few things on the results. And the results is very simple. I take it to the tangible financial results. Because we are an expert in what we do, there's a certain portion of the things that we do I can draw back to specific tangible results, and that's like the cherry on top. That's the if you reviewed some of the reports, I think was in the packet, is a listing of the different tangible results of past projects. Because we made this decision, or because we found this error, here was the financial results. And historically, we're covering our fee every time. Ever since 2017, we've covered our fee, and many times it's 2, 4, 8. My project that I've done the best with is 14 times over the fee, right? So we'll talk about the financial results when we get to that slide. So we go to the next slide. So a graduate student at UW-Madison wrote a thesis on owners' representatives and the effectiveness of them. And 2 questions that she put out to survey that I wanna just walk through, because they may be the questions that you have right now as you're evaluating this decision of working with an owner's representative or not. But the two questions are, what are the top 4 reasons you hired an owner's representative for the specific project, right? Why? Why did you hire an owner's rep? And then the second question we're going to go through and look at the survey responses is, what were the top 2 concerns when you hired the owner's representative? So if you go to the next slide, these were the top 4 reasons from that survey why owners, when I refer to owners, that's the school district's referred to as owner, any of a client of a project is referred to as owner. So if I use that language, that's what I'm referring to. I'm referring to you as a school district. Top 4 reasons. So improved communication. So I look at it as our role as an owner's representative. I kind of relate it to like an orchestra director, right? You have your architect, you have your construction manager, and your own internal staff, all having to work together, and I'm making sure they're all working together, and the constraints that are gonna prevent the architect from doing his design, which is often getting information from the school district because they wanna design what the school district wants, right? So I'm helping make sure that information is flowing. Maybe asking questions like is asking the right questions along the way to get making sure we're giving the right information and it's drawn right the first time, because we don't want to have changes. So if we're not thinking through the process during design, then we have changes during construction, so we're trying to avoid that. So keeping that communication flowing through all 3 critical teams, owner, contractor, and architect. Quality control, quality assurance. Often you think about that as the actual quality of the work that's going in place, so we certainly have an influence on that. At the phase we're at right now during design, I think of it right now as the quality of the construction documents. If the plans aren't a quality set, your construction manager is gonna struggle with providing a quality building solution, right? And so the other piece with having quality plans is if they aren't done well, meaning the details aren't put in your plans well now, when you get to construction, it's more likely gonna have change orders. One of the studies that I did was a cost of a change order on a project. So whether that's because the school district changed their mind on something, or because the design wasn't done well enough that we had to create a change order to correct the design. No plan is 100% perfect, but we try to get it as perfect as possible. But the cost to a change order after the project is in construction is between 25 and 40% premium that you pay. So knowing that that's a substantial cost on the project, let's do everything we can during the design to minimize change orders, right? So quality control, quality assurance is part of that during that design. This is a critical time that you're in right now, making sure we're being thorough in our design. Change order management. So on a large project, there will be change orders. There's always some change orders on a project. So we'll be looking at change orders that's submitted from the subcontractors to the construction manager. That comes to us before we approve anything or recommend for approval, making sure markups are correct, not double charging for stuff. So we're looking at those, and we will find errors and we'll negotiate and make sure that they are accurate. Another category under cost management, or change order management, which is cost management, is we're looking at pay applications, your monthly pay applications that get sent in, your invoices. On a construction project, our invoices on this project are probably 100+ pages. And that's because your type of contract that you have, they bill for actual costs of the subs, and then they charge a fee on top of that. I haven't had a project yet that I have not found errors in the invoicing. When you have as much detail as out there and as much going on, there's always an error, right? So that's something that we will find those, we'll go through those on a monthly basis and go and find those. Heavy workload, that's the last component of why, from that survey, why owners are hire an owner's representative. And I mentioned that at the start of, your own internal staff, from what I know of school districts, your own internal staff is stretched thin already, keeping the operations of the school going. So I'm not a substitute for them, I'm just there to help streamline the process for them and help make the right and best decisions along the way. So the top two concerns that owners had when hiring an owner's representative was, one was cost, the cost of the owner's representative, and two is finding a quality owner's representative. So I'll first talk about finding a quality owner's representative. We feel in the school market, we are the best in the state, and I say that because I have that expertise in the operations side. I know how schools operate, so I can think that way, and I can best advocate for you because I know how schools operate. I've lived in that environment. The second piece is the cost of the owner's representative, right? So yes, we are involved in every meeting. So your meetings that are every other week on Tuesday right now during design, we would absolutely be at those meetings, along with meetings along the way during construction. Whether this whole group's in it or not, there'll be meetings that I'm just working with the construction manager on. So when we look at cost and time spent, that's really a function. When we look at, we propose our fee, we look and we kind of work it backwards of how many hours we expect it's going to be, and then convert it to a fee. And that way, if the project grows or shrinks, that is adjusted accordingly, because if the project grows or shrinks, your hours are going to grow or shrink there. So the hours per week of what we typically spend, when I put it together, depending on the phase of the project, at this phase right now where we're at, it's probably, because it's every other week, maybe I'm spending 10 hours, 5 to 10 hours a week on the project. When we get into the construction bidding, so as the documents are finishing up and going in and ready for bidding, there's a lot of time spent in there. I'm putting probably 20, 30 hours in at that phase of the project, because we want to make sure those construction documents are as accurate as possible, and there's a lot of variables and risk happening at that point in time when it goes out to bid. I think part of one of the questions is, we have the dollars all put together right now. Right now, it's all budget dollars, so it hasn't been bid out. The step is, once the design is done, they will put it out to bid. So BGS will put it out to bid on the open market, and we'll get bids back. And so up until this point, the big value that BGS is providing is they're using their historical cost and they're putting budgets to it. And that helps inform the design. Okay, do we need to pull back on areas, or can we do a little bit more than we expected? And that's from this time all the way through November. That's where we'll be at, and as we continue to refine those drawings. So on that cost though, 100% of our projects since 2017, since we've started doing this, the owner's rep for schools, has been covered by the financial tangible savings. So everything prior to this, I've been talking about the journey, and then now we're at the results side of things, where we can point back to the tangible items where we've influenced on a project and been able to save dollars. So I'll give you 3 examples. As I went through and negotiated the contract, in the process of negotiating the contract for you guys with BJS, there's 3 major items that I pulled out. And I fully expect we're gonna be able to negotiate these 3 items. But the first item is in the draft contract that was sent through. Now, we're reviewing it, but your attorney's also reviewing it as well. Your attorney looks at very different things in the contract than what we look at. They're looking at the legal terms, the big risk items. We're looking at the business terms, your day-to-day type items. So an example of one of the items that we flagged is in the contract, they put in on regarding performance bonds. So as a school district, state statute says you have to put a performance bond on your construction manager, right? So that's will have a bond cost on your construction manager. In the contract, that's the draft out there right now, that we're gonna negotiate out is it says that when the construction manager bids it out, they're gonna ask all their subcontractors to put a performance bond in addition to that on their bids. And then when they present it, and then then the construction manager will be able to decide whether they want to take that bond, which you ultimately will pay for it if they accept that bond, or they'll say, no, we're not gonna put that on your subcontract and we're gonna pocket that money as profit, right? So, to me, that's not a good use of dollars, and so our typical contract will say that we will have, if it's mutually agreed upon between the school district and the construction manager, we will allow a bond, but certainly it's not gonna be a profit pocket for the construction manager, so we'll negotiate that piece out. The second one that we're gonna negotiate out is the construction manager, we're hiring them to manage the overall project. Many construction managers also do self-perform work is what they call it, so carpentry, concrete, demolition on the common ones. VJS also in the contract put ceilings, steel studs and drywall. So 5 areas that becomes a pretty significant portion of the project. And they put in the draft to say that they would just automatically get that work without bidding it out. And so 2 reasons we're gonna negotiate that out. One, in a school district environment where competitive bidding is an important piece. That's not a good way of not, you should competitively bid those things, right? You can competitively bid them, why wouldn't you competitively bid them, rather than just saying, here's a blank check, whatever dollar amount you wanna put on there, put on it, right? So, and the second reason is, it's just good for the project, to have good value. Why not put it to the open market and competitively bid those trades out, rather than just giving it to somebody? So, the third item that we pulled out, and we'll negotiate in there, is the cost to actually supervise and manage the project. We don't have that right now. So if we sign this contract, using that blank check analogy, you're like saying, okay, we're gonna hire you to manage this project, tell us later what you're gonna charge us. No, we know enough about this project that we can get what it's gonna take for superintendent hours, field superintendent hours, project manager hours, that staff. Let's get that information now before we sign a contract, make sure we agree with it. My background, my expertise, and the amount of projects I do with schools, I know what it should be at. It's easier to come to that right, we call them general conditions, before you sign a contract than after, right? The alternative is you'd be doing it right before you're ready to get started with construction. Now you have time that you're trying to get this settled, but we're trying to get a project started. So just those 3 things alone, right? I can't tell you what the dollar amount now is. I'll be able to tell you when we bid the project out, but I'm expecting us to be $150,000 to $200,000 by negotiating those 3 items out, right? So I just gave you like those 3 examples after being involved on this project for about 2 weeks. It kind of gives you the glimpse of, okay, what value is it gonna bring the rest of the project in comparison to the fee. So, and then I shared the different, we call it the Journey Plus Results Report, that I'll share throughout the project with your administration team, and if the board wants to see it as well, of what value, what tangible items that we have found along the way. And the reason we do that is at the end of the project, our goal is that the school, the administration staff, school board, says they did what they said they were gonna do, they improved the journey of the project, they had financial tangible results. Our goal at the end of the project is that the school says the best decision we made on this project was to hire Building Solutions as the owner's rep, because every single decision after that made it easier because they were help guiding and advocating for us. So next slide then is, I'm just gonna walk through the proposal letter about what our fees are. So when we provide the proposal letter, we outline, again, the journey and the results, right? Of what is owners rep at a high level, what do they bring, and it's the journey side, the relieving the burden on the staff, bringing the advocacy, the expertise to you as a school district, as an extension of your staff. And then again, the results, the financial side is, historically, we've covered our fee, and like I said, all the way up to 14 times our fee on a project. So the expectation is this is an investment on the project. This isn't a line item expense on a project. So the next slide, I just zoomed in on our proposal letter to go through our fees. So we proposed it as a 1.85% fee, and I put then the dollar amount based on what the board approved this project budget to be of just over $9 million. So a 1.85% fee would translate into $167,720 for the duration of the project. So 20 months is what VGS indicated they felt the project would take us through. So it would start not the following Tuesday, I think is the next meeting, but I would start, if approved, start gathering the rest of the information I need to get caught up. We start immediately, and this would go all the way through closeout and through warranty phase. Today I had some calls on a project that I finished over a year ago, and they're working through some warranty stuff, so I'm helping facilitate that. So it covers that whole duration. Then I have an optional owner's rep service fee. It's not a decision you need to make today. It is really a function of related to furniture and equipment. And so sometimes on a project, the architect will offer that service as well, as far as procuring and managing the furniture and equipment portion. And so when they propose, I'm assuming EUA will propose on that, and if they do, that's an option to go. But an alternative is to work with us. And specifically what that is if the architect does that, they become that liaison between the project, and they will partner with a furniture vendor. And so if we do it, we will, again, competition is good, so we will put it out to RFP typically. If it's a project that has a lot of furniture and equipment, we'll put it out as an RFP, so we have competitive numbers rather than just partnering with a firm that doesn't have competition there. So we'll put that out, and so if you decide to go with us for that, that's what that optional fee is. So I think as the project develops, that's a decision that can be made if that's a desired service for us. So again, the goal for us at the end of the project is that the district says that best decision that we made was hiring Building Solutions, because every decision after that. Joel, I think you asked the question about budget side as far as, related to the budget, and it made me think when you're asking that question of a school district we're working with right now. We just started the new middle school for them, but when we got selected by the board, the project at that time was in design, and it was $4 million over budget at that time. And it wasn't
Just in design?
during the design process, right? So kind of where you're at right now, where the construction manager is projecting the cost, and that project was a just under $40 million project, right? And so that's not the bids coming back, that's during design, but the point was the board was considering adding our owner's rep fee on top of that. They ultimately did. It wasn't a unanimous decision by the board, because I think much of what maybe your concerns right now is like, we're adding an expense to a project that's already, the budget's saying it's already tight. Well, that particular project was Howard's Grove, and that's one of the references. I'd encourage you to, if you know any board members up there, encourage you to call them, talk to them. If you talk to any of those board members now, the ones that voted no or abstained from the vote, I'm confident they would say that was one of our best decisions, or best decision, my hope is. Because it bid out, we came in under budget, and that's on the financial side of things and the journey side of things for them. They have good things to say, and so I was very appreciative at that time that the board gave us that confidence, and now to see where we're at on that project, it's just been a success. We started construction in the spring here, so we have another year and a half to go, or a little less than a year and a half to go, but the picture of that project looks really good, right now, so. Any other questions or red flags as I walk through, this that I can answer for you?
Are your fees capped at that 167,720?
So if the project goes up so the $9 million budget, that's why we do it on a percentage, if the project, if the board decides that they have different dollars or wanna add more, so if they add $500,000, $1 million to it, the fees would go up proportionally. If you guys feel pretty confident that this is the dollars you have, I'm assuming that's the case, right? That's gonna be at that $9 million number, then that's what it's gonna be. So it is based on a percentage fee, is what it is.
And is it off the base bid, or is that including everything contingencies and everything, soft goods, all that?
It's what's actually spent on the project. So that is a scenario that could happen, that we come through and at the end of the project, cross our fingers, we're under budget. And so rather than a $9 million project, it ends up being $8.5 million project. And the board decides we're not going to put it anywhere else, we're just gonna take that and put it back in the fund balance, then our fee would go down accordingly as well.
It's just 1.85% of whatever's spent.
Correct. Yep, you got it.
But I mean, inevitably, there's change orders, contingencies. I mean, I hear a change order from Joel's mouth all the time.
Yeah.
But, and then the 1.85, and there was a that's not being considered, right, the 2.35%?
Correct.
And it was in a different
In the
level.
original proposal, when I did the step one, which was just, and then I set a range of fees, so,
Right.
correct, no, it's the 1.85 and then a 0.15 for that optional service, yeah.
So I think one of the reasons we asked you to come back and provide additional details is, this is my first time going through a public building out. And so when we saw what the expenses were and we as a board approved what the expenses were, the introduction of your role and the cost affiliated with your role was new to us. And so there were concerns, because it isn't a small dollar amount, to be able to get from your mouth some perspective, some understanding of the value proposition around making the investment. And so I think I heard you earlier say that you've covered fees 2 to 4 times, maybe up to 14 times, and then you said cents, and I don't know that I caught over like how far back. Is it possible for you to provide like that number of like how far back you've?
Yeah, so since 2017, which is when I transitioned from working on staff in Mukwana to owner's representative, 100% of those projects we've been able to cover our fees. And it's, like I said, it's more like 4 or 8 times our fee, and our best was the 14 times fee like that. And so that gets substantiated by that cost, that Journey Plus results report. And so if you looked at detail, I have, the supporting information, and so if you looked at one of those line items, like, okay, tell me more about this, I can take you back to, the example of where we find an error on a pay application, right? I can show you what the original pay application was, and then the rejected, and here's the revised pay application, right? That's a tangible, so much of our stuff, I can't say tangibly what those dollars are, but the stuff that I can tangibly say what it is, that's what I capture on the report. The rest of the stuff falls under the category as under the Journey category, right? But the tangible stuff is what we put on the report,
Well,
so.
and it was even beneficial to hear the 3 items that you've pulled out already. I think that gives us relevance to understand the perspective and the value. I think all of us here want to be mindful, it's also a small project, and so part of us wanted to understand, you referenced, hey, we did this big project in Mukwonago and it's 30-40 million. This isn't a $30 or $40 million project, so is there still a need for it? So I appreciate you providing the extra detail and the value in what that role represents and the value that comes with it, so thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
And then will it be you involved in the project or someone in your firm?
Yeah, so I'll be involved through the design portion of it. Once it gets to construction, I'll still stay involved. I'll have another person from the office that will be helping out along at that time as well. We see that design, setting that project up for success, I like to be part of that at every meeting.
Yeah, design is the most important in my aspect.
Yeah.
I mean, that drives the rest of the project, so.
So you have construction people, you have architects, you have finance people all in your firm with background in those?
Yeah, so we're a smaller firm. It's my partner, myself, and we have one project executive.
Okay.
So our background though has all those pieces in it.
Yeah.
So we've done developments ourselves, so that's where the real estate development side comes in. We both my partner and myself and the project executive came from the construction management role. It's an important thing for us as a company. Because there's owners representatives that come from a finance role. We feel that the construction management background is valuable because, yes, we're looking at the dollars and cents and advocating for you, but we also feel it's important to add a synergy to the project, meaning we wanna clear the constraints for your construction managers so they can do what they need to do the best they can, and your architect, right? So we understand all those pieces of it, so all
Well,
those
my
pieces,
point was, you can walk onto a project and say, those headers are not correct,
yes,
is what I'm saying.
correct,
Yeah,
yep,
good, that's great.
yep.
Do you ever find yourself butting heads with the construction people?
You know, it's
Because
an
you're kind of, taking money away from them.
It's, so here's what I find on most projects, that we are able to be full service with them.
Mhm.
They appreciate the synergy piece of it, we're removing those constraints, we're helping make their job better so they can do a better job, they appreciate that. They don't come out and tell you that they don't like that they can't take advantage of the gray areas. I'm sure it's a little bit of a rub there, but I have a very good working relationship with VJS, your construction manager, and all the construction managers in this area. There's not a construction manager that I can't work with, and there is not a construction manager that I'm aware of that says they can't work with me. So we work well, which I do think is a unique thing with us as well. I know that's not the case for all owners representative because they like to show their value in like meetings, and that becomes confrontational. No, we're about the synergy of the project and just really doing what's best for the district.
Good, thanks.
So, I live with one, so,
Live
but
with one.
I am a little concerned, I think the fee is a little high, is it negotiable, has it been negotiated?
So one of the things I have done in the past where that concern is there, is I put a guarantee out there saying that
Okay,
we will hit it, and if we don't cover our fees,
Okay.
that will reduce them accordingly. So if that makes the school board feel better.
yeah, I mean, for a $9 million project, it is a smaller scale compared to, 50 or whatever $1 million project you said, I think 50 or.
Yeah, the two examples was 50 and.
Yeah, and obviously on larger projects, you're gonna have larger savings, right?
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, yeah, I'm all for it, I'm all for the value that it brings, I mean, I definitely think you're going to, pick up on some things, and you already are. And I'm glad to see that you're at the beginning of the stages, because if
Yes.
you weren't, if you're not at the beginning,
Yes.
then what's the point, right?
Agreed.
Because you're setting up a lot of
Yeah,
stuff.
just to hit on that, not all the board members here are aware of this, but we put a little money into this and
Yeah,
activated some initial services just on the upfront.
Yep.
I had made the committee aware of that, which didn't commit us to everything,
mhm.
just to make sure that there was that initial connection if in fact the decision was made to go further. So that, there has been already some action that way.
And no contracts, no design, anything has been signed by the school district yet with VJS.
No, the architect contract and VGS's contract is currently, I'm working with Atolis right now, so I worked with Rebecca over there on other projects, we work very well together, right? So we have an efficient review, so it's in that process right now, so nothing's been signed.
Yeah, I'm not a voting member, we're not really voting, but that safety net, I think it would be important.
Of the guarantee.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to provide that, and that is key to be involved early like this, so with that, if you're bringing me on as we were bidding the project out, I wouldn't be able to provide that guarantee. We'd be able to help on the journey side of things, but
And I think that was one of my concerns, like, well, how far, I didn't know if we were in bids already, it's like, well, it's kind of late to the game.
Yeah.
That's what I think one of my questions was, so no, it's good to know that you're actually in the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that makes a world of difference to me.
So hopefully 167 times 2 or 3 or 4.
Well,
Keep us posted.
that's right.
Well, again, it
His
sounds
goal
like-
is to help us not spend our contingency.
Yeah,
So it kind
Yeah,
of sounds like
yeah.
the committee members, that can vote are on board with this. maybe, right,
We haven't heard from Johnny yet.
how do we wanna make sure that we're
A
moving?
nod.
Yeah, I mean, the one comment I'll make based off of the presentation is, Kurt's already indicated that with 3 items in the contract, he's at $150,000.
He's got his fee almost covered.
Yeah, so I mean, with a few other items, he's already gonna save us money and I feel like based off the presentation as well, I think we could anticipate well over that amount, so yeah, I see this as a win for the district.
And one other thing too is, like most projects, depending on who your architect firm is, we're dealing with one right now, where they actually provide kind of that project management, almost like an owner's rep, but looking out for our behalf.
Right.
But it's my understanding that VGS does not offer that service, so we're not paying for that service, am I correct?
I mean, like, we're not double paying for the same service.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure that, in our case in West County, our architect is looking out for our interests, he's double checking, he's doing all the work that you're doing, checking invoices, make sure we're not double billed, working through change orders, make sure it's necessary or not. Our architect firm is doing that.
Okay, I want to go, yeah. Yeah, the contract that I reviewed doesn't have that.
Okay.
EUA or VGS, as far as those.
You're talking about an architecturally led
Project manager, yeah.
So when I worked with SDS Architects, they're big in the west side of the state, they're real big on pushing in that direction,
Correct.
so this is different than that.
Yep.
So the project that I was part of in the Menominee School District with an I, other side of the state, it was what you say.
Yeah.
But that is different than this situation.
Okay, great.
And you said you'd be at like all the meetings, the subs, and is Chris Carlton attending some of those?
Yeah, we
too?
had a meeting today.
Yeah,
How many of those going
We're
to
at
the
soil
meetings?
test, and then we have another meeting coming up pretty quick here.
Oh, God,
What
was
would
lucky
the
they had-
committee like to do with approval? Are you good with us just moving forward, or would you like this to go to the full board, or?
But yeah, I don't think we can, there's nothing agendized to
Right.
take action,
I mean, do we, does it even have to go to a full board if it fits within the project budget?
we've already approved the budget,
So,
right? We voted on the
I don't think it's a
project.
major topic, so I think that's why we kept it in committee, so
I
as
think it
long
was
as
a
it's
matter of
reviewed
us
committee.
feeling a level of comfort
Yeah.
and making sure it was within the budget constraints.
Yeah,
yeah, I don't think it needs to go to full board.
okay.
I don't think we need it to the full board.
And then, so you've reviewed the drawings, the specs, all that stuff, soil, you can get the soil reports.
Yeah, I haven't got into the drawings or the specs, but that's where I would start, if the direction to proceed, that's where I would start right away. Use drawing specs and get caught up, and then start engaging with the next meeting.
And we can start doing that soil report came in today, but it's an initial report, meaning it's gonna take them about a week to start to figure out what that means for us, but it was a very important report, which we all know, I mean, anybody who's done a building project before, I mean, it really depends, but I just saw just a brief, it came out just shortly before the meeting started. But there was no,
Big red flags.
well, there's no, it takes some time to determine what the cost is gonna be, any additional cost as a result of the soil report. I mean, but we'll get to that, like that is new, that just hit moments ago. Alright,
So I'm sorry, so again, it's $168,000, we don't have to take board action. I just wanna make, I have no problem taking a board vote, I'm not saying I want to. I just wanna make sure that whatever's required, we
So
are
we
doing.
can cover that
doing
within our
what we need to
contingency
do.
at this point.
Okay.
So it's included in the budget.
Okay.
There's no need to have board approval. We absolutely could, but there's no need to.
Okay.
To me, it's an extra step.
Yep.
I'm very strong.
I don't think, I'm not gonna put it.
our contingency is $750,000, we haven't spent any of it yet. And this actually will help us, or it's actually more than that, but I mean, this will help us make sure that we're protecting that for the long term, so.
And then the benefit of the timing is that Kirk can join us for our next meeting, which is 2 weeks from today, which is a design meeting. So as we talked about, that's very important.
The critical meeting.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, appreciate it.
You want to see the rest of the vote?
I will do that.
Okay, Moving on to the next item, we have a presentation, an update on the 2024-2025 preliminary budget. And I think we all have handouts.
Yep, so you'll have the budget packet. I'll go through, again, everybody's heard this multiple times at this point, and extensively on July
Maybe
first.
you have to say what the math is on today's presentation or not? No, okay, so we're gonna have, she loves this part.
You want this part?
I like listening.
Why don't you go ahead? Why don't you go ahead, Caitlin?
Okay, so, again, this is our preliminary 24-25 budget. It is preliminary and it can and will change because there are a number of factors that we actually don't even get until October. Many of them are significant. One of them is our membership count, our equalized value, our equalized aid. So those are pieces that affect both our overall revenue and our tax levy and therefore our mill rate. So I'm going to keep it high level. We'll go through again like extensively like we did on July 1st when I say we. Shout out to Matt for doing an absolute phenomenal job while I was on maternity leave. I should say that too. We'll go through like the in-depth version of this once again at the full board meeting on August 12th. So again, this is kind of high level because not much has changed since a month ago. So I'll go quickly through the revenue limit formula, not spending too much time on this because we could spend
Oh, God.
days. But instead, this is the main way in which school districts are funded. It ultimately caps the amount of revenue a school district can receive through property taxes and state aid. At this point in the budget process, we know some of our factors, but not all of them. The resident membership FTE is what comes from our third Friday in September pupil count. We do know our per pupil dollar amount because we are in the second year of our state biennial budget. So the $325 increase from the prior year is included in that state biennial budget, and actually for the next 400 years based on the language that was entered from the 23-25 state budget. So that provides our overall revenue limit authority, and again, with a little asterisk because this is a very complex formula, but it's important just for big picture understanding that we can provide this sort of watered down version to ultimately understand our big picture dollars that we're talking about. So going to the next graph, which I love showing like the same graph multiple times because at this point you should start to be familiar with it, and we showed this graph numerous times during the discussion and approvals for our CE and Rec and Riverside facilities projects because it shows the breakdown of our overall tax levy. And you can see from prior years where you're seeing in big picture, school districts have to go through fund accounting. So that means our operations are kept separate in different buckets or funds, if you will. And our tax levy is reflective of those various operations. So the majority of our tax levy goes to our general operating fund, and then we also have our debt service fund, which there's a fund 38, which is non-referendum debt, and then a fund 39, which is referendum approved debt. And then we also have, as part of our overall tax levy, a community service fund. So in prior years, we've had debt service fund as part of our overall tax levy. And as you know, we went through a defeasance in the spring, which sort of freed up some of those dollars in the 24-25 year and in the 24-25 year in order for us to sort of supplement that with additional Fund 80 or Community Service Fund dollars in order to fund the project over the next 2 years. So that's why you're seeing the sort of the replacement of the red piece or the debt service piece of the graph with a larger Fund 80 or green Community Service Fund piece of the graph in 24-25. With our overall tax levy still maintaining just under that $40 million mark where it's fluctuated very minimally over the last handful of years.
And this is where it's reflected that the board's decision is saving the taxpayers millions and millions of dollars over a period of time based on that defeasance, which is really just prepaying
Mhm.
debt. So the prepayment of debt means we'd have no debt payments this year due to the prepayment of debt.
And that interest savings number is over $3 million over the next life of the debt, next decade. And then we can calculate from the tax levy the preliminary mill rate. So again, preliminary dollars, you'll see in the last handful of years that the mill rate is decreasing and actually we're at a 30-year low. So it's kind of more fun when you even go back up into seeing the last 3 decades that we're at a 30-year low. So again, similarly, you can see the various components of the mill rate. And the largest portion is for our general operating fund, and then replacing the referendum approved debt that you're seeing in recent years with the larger community service fund portion of our mill rate.
Which that larger community service portion fund is allowing us to not create any debt with this project that was just talked about a few moments ago, including the management of the project, all of these sorts of things, that we're not creating any debt at all when doing that project.
So moving into key assumptions of our budget, we have to assume, our budget is our best guess of what's going to happen. And we have to assume things, so we have educated based on historical data and what we know in the state biennial budget, et cetera, for many categories throughout our budget. One of the key pieces, again, being in the second year of the state biennial budget, is that per pupil revenue limit increase of $325. Our adjustment, no adjustment within our per pupil categorical aid, which is a much smaller revenue piece in our budget, but is still something. That's $742 per pupil instead of the $12,000 per pupil that's our overall revenue. So a much smaller piece of revenue, but still important in our big picture. Our flat membership, so we've had small increases in membership over the last few years, but in order to be conservative, we are estimating a flat membership, and we will find out the results of that. Again, that's our third Friday in September count, so it's 2 weeks after that we actually know what that number means for our budget.
And so by flat, you're meaning that you're gonna
Maintain.
mimic what we did last year.
For
So just keep.
maintaining our,
Perfect.
To be conservative, basically.
yep. It likely will go up a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's important to note that that membership count is a 3-year average, so it could go up, by 30 kids, but we get to count, basically get 10 of those, so we get a third of that's included in our budget. Maintaining the special ed reimbursement rate from last year, so 33%. The state actually has in their budget 35, and they didn't put enough money in the pot for all school districts to actually get 35. So we're maintaining that 33%. Fund 38 debt payments, that's our non-referendum debt. So that was eliminated last year in the spring with our final debt payments there. And what that ultimately does is frees up general operating dollars, because off of the top of our tax levy, we have to first and foremost put dollars to Fund 38 if we have any debt payments. So without having those, we get to keep them in our Fund 10 and our general operating bucket. And it's good timing because this is the first year that we no longer have ESSER funding, which is that federal COVID relief funding. So that aligned actually very well. That was just happenstance, but very well for us to be able to plan for what happens when those dollars run out. And then, as we talked about numerous times, the CE and REC project impacts to Fund 80 and then the Fund 39 levy, basically kind of flip-flopping for the year of 24-25. No new open enrollment seats, so maintaining our open enrollment program is status quo, which means this budget here is forecasted for actually a net neutral of open enrollment in and out seats, both at 118 seats, netting $0 as a revenue or expense. We do have a busing cost increase, which we've planned for, we knew it was coming and included in this budget. We have an increase in our business insurance, which is property, liability, workers' comp, those ancillary lines of insurance, increase in utility cost, and then an estimated increase of equalized value, that's our equalized property values of 4%. And those over recent years have been larger. At some point, there's going to be a slow. We find out this actual value in October, so right now our conservative estimate is the 4%. If that goes up, it's not like it provides the school district with more money, it's just more property value through which we can spread out the levy. So ultimately decreases the mill rate. And then kind of the last piece that we'll go through on the slides in any sort of depth here is just the update from the last meeting where we went through our budget is all positions received an increase ranging from 2% to 4.12% as a salary increase or wage increase. And our increase in teaching staff is supported in this budget, so that's great. We're in our the July meeting, we talked about complying with Act 20, so of course that's all included within our budget in terms of our elementary staff. And then the one update that we have from our July presentation is the additional associate principal at North Middle School to provide the support that's needed for our students and staff there. So I'll move briefly, I'm not going to go through this whole budget packet into the budget packet that everybody should have a printed version of. And this is ultimately page 4 is what the board will be reviewing for discussion and approval on Monday, August 12th. So this isn't a lengthy packet, but the budget page that would be approved is just page 4. So it goes through a summary of fund by fund. You'll see both revenues and expenditures and the fund balance projected for each fund. You'll see the 22-23 audited year, and then the year that just ended's budget. So we don't have actuals yet as we're still wrapping up year end and our audit is in a few weeks here. So you're still seeing the budget numbers from 23-24 and then the proposed 24-25 budget. So you can see it's nice to see that the few years compared to each other. Again, you're starting with your general fund. Everything that we talked about, including the associate principal at North Middle School addition, is reflected in the expenditures here. Our special projects funds are mainly our Fund 27, our special education fund, and then also our student activity accounts, that's Fund 21. Our debt service funds are actually now just 39, so we no longer have Fund 38 debt, so that's 39, and I'll point out there on row 24, the ending fund balance as you compare, your row 24? You have your magnifying glass, row 24. That shows you're seeing a significant drop in that fund balance, and that is the defeasance. So that's how we were able to defease those dollars and prepay our debt in order to create those interest savings over the next decade of years. Capital projects funds is kind of old news, so right now that $112,000 fund balance just maintains, and no proposed budget changes for that fund, the Fund 41.
So the fund balance has decreased because of the defeasance, but we're still over 19 million fund balance, is that correct?
Yes, as a total.
I mean,
Yep.
like 19.2-ish
Mhm.
million in fund balance.
Fund 50 is our food service fund, and we're projecting a balanced budget there. Community service is another one I just wanted to point out as a change when we're talking about our project for CE and rec facilities. The revenues you're seeing in row 40 are significantly increased, and again, that's that levy that instead of going to Fund 39 like it had in years past, is now in next year going to Fund 80 to fund on sort of a pay-as-you-go basis instead of opening any new debt to pay for that CE and rec facilities project. Our overall total of expenditures you'll see is actually very similar to the year before. We've tightened really every area in our budget as we've gone through line by line, truly, within our budget to make sure that we, are being financially responsible and that our budget is reflecting our actuals. And then you'll see the total school levy, second last row there, 39,339,102 as our total projected levy for the 24-25 school year. And again, there are factors that we learn in October, so this is what will be presented at our annual meeting. And it's just kind of the goofy way that school funding and finance works, and that we present and approve a preliminary budget before our annual meeting, and then that's the budget that's presented at the annual meeting, but it's not until October that we learn our final values or where our board can then take action on approving a final budget when we're already a couple months into our fiscal year.
So I just wanna call out the fact that, let me pull out a row number here. Row 53, it's pretty close from prior year.
Mhm.
And then in your presentation, you showed the addition of the 4 resources plus now the principal. That's pretty remarkable. So kudos to everybody who's doing the hard work to make that possible and that we're spending in the areas that really need it. So props.
And on the difference between row 11 and 16, that's partly because of the extra position.
Yes, that is the extra position. Additional position. Any other questions? I don't have to go, unless you want me to, go further into depth, but Matt did an awesome job going through all the weeds on July 1st.
Good job, Matt.
Yeah, I just,
Matt, you are awesome.
You missed it.
I missed that one.
You know,
You're glowing, it's
I did watch it today.
Watching my game film.
Wow. Highlight reel.
Hopefully.
Wait till she puts you through some drills tomorrow.
Matt, come on, just close the door, please.
Yeah.
Evaluations right
It
now.
was really, really good. It was really good. I don't even know that I would add anything. It was great. And that is online, so if anybody is interested in watching it as well, it's
Just show my
recorded.
fiance.
Make up some popcorn and be like, I got some good watching for you.
So moving forward, then our next steps are, as we talked about multiple times, that we learn our final budget factors throughout October. On Monday, on the 12th, we will present our preliminary budget once again, and then our board would be set to take action on a preliminary budget, and then that same budget is what would be presented at the annual budget hearing on September 9th. Any questions?
Anything on this item? No more questions? Okay. Well then, I'd like to keep us moving and move on to the next item, which is the transportation contract renewal.
before we jump into the transportation contract, I will make a comment about transportation contract. Just want to compliment both Caitlin and Matt on a wonderful job. It was complex and a little bit drawn out, but very successful largely because of both of their work on behalf of the district. So, go ahead, carry on, and we'll jump into it right now. Thank you both.
Alright, so we have had a long-standing relationship with Johnson School Bus. And the existing contract that was in place ended at the end of last school year. So we've spent several months to negotiating the terms of this contract, which is a new 3-year term with an option to extend for additional 2 years after that. And the contract has been reviewed extensively by us, by district legal counsel, as well as our insurance agents at R&R. So we really got everyone at the table to make sure that this was drawn out how we best could like it. We're all very pleased with the agreement that you can see up here. I can also print it out if you'd like. But it reflects significant savings compared to the initial proposal that was sent over to us a couple months ago. Again, like David said, we worked extensively with Johnson Bus to get that increase down as much as possible. So we do feel good about what we are presenting tonight. This is something that we knew was coming, as this was our first contract post-COVID. The transportation sector really took a huge hit since COVID, not only in their staffing, but their day-to-day operational costs. So going into this renewal, we anticipated significant increases, as many other districts in our area have experienced since COVID. So given all that, we again still feel very confident, not only in the terms of this contract that we've negotiated, but the ability to continue to work with Johnson Bus, which we've been doing for a countless amount of years. So I won't bore you with everything in this agreement, but I do want to bring just a couple key points to you tonight as far as the increases go. So what we were able to negotiate with Johnson School Bus as far as increases go is it will be an 8% increase in expenses in 24-25, a 9% increase in 25-26, and then a 12% increase in 26-27. Now, if the district were to extend the contract an additional 2 years, those rates will then increase by either 3% or CPI, whichever is higher at that point in time, for those final 2 years of the contract. Now, again, those numbers are high. We included that in our budget. We knew it was coming. And this initial offer that we received from Johnson Bus was much higher than what we're able to agree upon, hopefully, with you guys. So one additional thing that we were able to add after working with R&R, which is our insurance broker, were some verbiage regarding our limits and what was covered. So this is the piece here, number 5, that we were able to add and kind of tweak to our liking in this contract that Johnson Bus eventually agreed upon. So we were very happy with that. Our insurance agents were very happy with that. So that was another key piece that we were able to add to this contract. I also just want to take a quick moment to shout out Johnson Bus, who continue to provide exceptional customer service not only to our staff but to our families. And in a challenging labor market where bus companies have struggled to find drivers, I know in my prior districts it was a real struggle. We really don't see it much here. Our school bus times, athletic vans, other event transportation, you really aren't seeing a lot of delays, so that is a huge win. And we feel very good about continuing to partner with them, so.
And we have a very good situation here.
I mean, just a shout out to Johnson Bus as well. I mean, I've gone to a number of sporting events where, you know, my kids are in and their bus drivers are on the sidelines cheering the kids on, or they like specifically pick up those shifts because they wanna be there for those. I mean, it's amazing to see like
That is
bus
cool.
drivers like
That is
as excited
fantastic.
about, yeah,
Is
so.
it their website that's down right now, or is it ours?
We're working with,
It's a great question.
It's the pool,
Technology's
yeah.
on it, but.
it's been our day, yeah. Something about this, the hosted server, as much information as I can give. That's why we have a technology team, right?
Yep.
But I will say on the athletics note, there are districts who they're having to actually release their students like half days, basically, like they're missing all this academic time because that's the only time they can get buses when they're not interfering with the end of day routes. So it sounds like it's a co-curricular, but it's beginning to affect curriculars in many school districts. So Johnson Bus is just doing, it's just their family environment over there. We, what was it, like bus driver appreciation week that we went over there and brought donuts and just, we wrote thank you cards for all of the drivers and just said thank you in person, and we should do it more than just, bus driver appreciation week, but they've been really, really great to work with.
That's awesome.
So next steps for this one, because it is such a large dollar amount, we would bring this on Monday for discussion, then also action. And generally, we don't do that one in the same meeting, but this has been a long time coming, so we're gonna bring it, it's also August now, so we'll bring it for both
You haven't
discussion.
spoke to the board here tonight, so.
Yep, so you've heard it.
Okay, great. All right, and then
Okay. Oh, yeah.
the last item for tonight's discussion is the 2024-2025 employee handbook.
We're going through all the red lines, right?
You're going through all the red lines?
Okay, well, maybe.
Oh.
I'm gonna read
Live stream it on the way home.
Word for word, Caitlin.
Okay, great. Well, I'm gonna take you up on it.
So,
You're going.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
yes, I mean, I'm not really going to, but you don't need to stay. Cute new baby.
Alright, and you're good with, yep, and that's still
That's
streaming,
still-
okay,
yep.
so we're good.
So, created this handbook, back in 2021, and every few years, or every year. You kind of learn and go through things, or things change, or things pop up, so we're bringing forward some revisions. And then, it'll be referencing the page numbers are actually at the bottom of what would be the handbook page, so they don't directly correlate with the sheets. Okay, so page 2, which is not really the second page, like I said. Page 2 at the bottom, then we'll kind of be on track once we get to that first page 2. I decided this year to add our customer service guiding principles into the employee handbook for the 23-24 school year. We created a new evaluation system for our support staff, and it has 3 parts, and 1/3 of it are the guiding principles, and our support staff employees are evaluated on all of the things that you see there. The district has had these guiding principles for well over a decade now, and they hang up everywhere, we give them to new employees, but since we did take that step to actually base some evaluations on it, I thought it was the right time to actually just add them into the employee handbook. So while it's new to the handbook, it has been around for an extremely long time in the district, and we do train every year all new hires, not just new teachers, on all of these components. So then I'm really just gonna go to like the big things every once in a while, like fixed a word or, clarified a sentence, so I'm gonna try to just stick to the things that were a little bit more specific. So, page 5, it's at the very top, just adding a line about employees punching in the time clocks that we have actually at the worksite, because it is also a mobile app as well, because we just had a few issues that we will now be very clear about where you're punching in and out unless you actually have a worksite that doesn't have a clock. But most of them do. But every once in a while you might be out of field, somewhere that doesn't actually have one, but if you do report to a physical site, we need that to happen. Then also the bottom of page 5, a new section, cell phone use, we don't actually have a problem, but just looking over some insurance stuff, it's best if we actually have a provision on the employee handbook about, driving safely and not texting or reading, on your phone. I think it's, probably pretty basic for people to not do that, but that's how accidents happen then, so. Maybe our insurance will go down after some of the changes we make here. So then, page 8, the one that always causes a stir, dress code. So I like to say that, when you buy a hairdryer, there's that warning tag on it to not use it in the water. 99.9% of people would never use an electrical device in the water, but that 0.1% need that tag. So, this is just to clarify that 99.9% of our staff dresses perfectly appropriate for work every single day, and there is no issue, and this will not even be a concern to them. However, there's a point one that we need to be a little clear about what we actually meant, because we had very, general paragraphed out language. So, decided to add a little bit more specific, that appropriate for, most of our staff, is business or business casual. Especially when you think about those of us at district office, our administrators, our teachers, our educational assistants, those are very forward facing to our students and families. And we do consider all of us and all of those people, professionals, and we need to present as such. So just making that a little clear, then being a little bit more specific about athletic wear, tracksuits, tank tops, sweatpants, and then there's always the caveat. FIA teachers, I think we all know through the history of time, have always dressed a little bit differently because they're outside, they're inside in a gym, they're running around, they're participating in those physical activities, so there's always been that caveat. That's probably the most common, thing. Sleepwear and loungewear, no ripped or torn clothing, no inappropriate length clothing. I'm gonna bypass one, no hats or headwear indoors, obviously the exception being for religious or medical headwear and accommodations. And then no flip-flops. This is the one that will bring the house down in any district, but our insurance company has been on us for years about flip-flops. I did not bring the data, but HR is a part of the workers' comp process with finance. We actually play the more individual employee role as we're working through their claim with them. And we have a high number of claims of slips and falls with people wearing flip-flops. And our insurance agent, multiple agents, actually all 3, who play a role with us, have been on us for years, and I think it's time.
Yeah, it's something that has come up in some of our loss meetings, if you will, which we sit in and Caitlin runs with others, with Leah about that in particular. So that's why it's listed in red there about our insurance company having a very specific opinion about that.
Is there a definition of flip-flop? I hate to say
No,
that, but
no.
like,
Does a slide count?
So I will tell you
cause I think
that I did do
have
this
an
once
issue
before.
with this, I think it may continue to be an issue if we're not a little more clear.
I did this once before about 9 years ago. And I sent along pictures of what a flip-flop is. So for the most part, I would say it is anything that doesn't have a back
Well,
that
that's a sandal too
that
though,
flips and flops.
sandal.
However, our insurance company was very specific though about, I think, the typical flip flop that you think of, that you find at any store, from the dollar store to the most expensive store, with the little piece that goes between your toe and then the straps kind of come down across from that thing in between your big toe and whatever the next toe is called. That is definitely the shoe that they see the most trouble with. And so I think as an entry point, I would be sticking with the more in your head picture of what pops up when you think of a flip flop is that kind of beach shoe that,
Support, slippery, and.
yeah. I think at some point, you know, we will relook at the insurance workers' comp data and see if they mean anything that is floppy when you walk, but
No, how are you gonna define like flip flop versus sandal?
yeah, I mean, I'll send
One
pictures
should have a
when we
back.
roll this out.
Well,
Like you
sandals,
think of like
I have
Birkenstocks.
sandals that don't have backs,
Don't
they're
have
sold with
that,
the tags
but
as
they-
sandals, they look like a damn
slip in.
flip flop.
So like I would say for right now, we'd be allowing those shoes, but I would not be allowing the one that goes in between your toes.
Yeah,
With the
so that's a
two-
sandal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with the two like thinner straps that go down from that
V.
one point, yeah.
I don't
I'll
wanna
be
dwell on
sending
it too long, but you said business or business casual, and I like that clarification, but I think a lot of times when people hear business casual, they think casual. You know, sometimes it's gotten too,
Loose.
yeah, too
Jeans
far
business
since
casual.
2020.
So jeans are not considered business
No.
casual.
So what about like,
So like I am in business casual with like dress pants and not, I guess,
well, I just feel like
T-shirt.
it has
Can we
gotten
put
a little
examples
too
in there?
casual. Like,
Like
what,
khaki, dress shirt.
well, what do you mean by athletic wear? Like, what about leggings?
yeah, so I'm just gonna be honest, this could be 6 pages long.
Okay.
So
But, like,
usually what I do is I
that
send out
considered
examples.
athletic wear?
So athletic wear, I would say there
Well, that
are
depends.
different leggings.
Leggings with a tunic is fine.
And so there are definitely sections in the clothing department, and if you go to the section that specifically sells the athletic clothing, and that's where you buy your little running shorts and your wicking, you know, leggings and all that kind of stuff, I would say that is your athletic wear. But yes, I just had to send pictures of, you know, examples of what we mean.
Right.
It's gonna be a growing pain, for people. Jeans are technically not business casual, so, and I did put it in here because we have done it for so long that Wednesdays in this district are college wear day, where people are allowed to wear jeans with, some type of college top. And then Fridays are, either your school or generally Menominee Falls Spirit Wear days where they wear jeans. So I think those are kind of the two designated like jeans days, which is a lot, 2 a week is a lot.
Yeah.
So I think people are pretty fortunate already in the district. I would say business casual for women are what you consider maybe like a dress pant. Men, I think of it as like khakis and a polo shirt is business casual. Business wear usually means you're in something that resembles more of a suit. You know, like the dress pants that come with a suit, or for a woman, that kind of skirt or slacks that are a little bit above
Even if
that.
there's a Millennium
With
Falcon.
Millennium Falcon.
Even if there's a millennium, okay, yeah. So
I saw that right
business
away.
usually means you have some type of jacket, suit,
Gotcha.
like
Yeah.
suit like coat. I was once
like
told to be business ready, so I didn't have to wear my coat all the time.
Mm.
But I had to have my coat ready to put on when I engaged
that
with
moment.
people, but I didn't have to sit with it on at my desk alone. Business ready.
Business
That was
ready.
kind of what you,
Yeah.
business ready.
I like it, okay.
So I will send examples along. I think we're going to let it go and see how we do. But I'll send pictures. And then once again, you know, obviously, we do have spirit weeks, you know, at the high school and at the elementary schools, where it's like, oh, dress like a grandparent
Yeah.
day, or dress like it's a decade. You know, obviously, we'll always still have those days, that's allowable in here. And then I did just add the caveat that when staff are participating in our interview process, or in any board committee or full board meetings, that regardless of what day it is, they are to be in that business or business casual attire.
So do we get tours or visits or others that are coming in? So the only thing that I would think of is rather than limiting it just to those, is there an opportunity to add or other activity?
Oh, sure, yeah.
I just feel like at point in time, we have people that come in. We wanna be spiffy and I,
Parent
yeah,
tours or, yeah, I think we can have.
Yeah, I'll add something.
thank you.
We'll start with the idea that, like I said, 99.9% are already doing it every day. And I'll send some pictures along for the ones who aren't. I think, for the last few years, everyone in district office has pushed out to the schools on the first day of school to just help out in the building or wherever. And I think a lot of us saw a lot of clothing that we were kind of surprised by. I think especially for me. I mean, and like, I came from MPS, which people think would be so casual, but we had a tougher dress code than what I even put in here, back in 2016. So, I think I was just surprised by the actual like amount of little running shorts with flip-flops and then like workout tank tops. And I think when we came together, you know, just to reflect on our day, we kind of all had a similar experience. Like I said, small population, but nonetheless, you know, we are all professionals and our buildings, while not icy cold in the summer, are still climate controlled enough that I think we can still dress as professionals when we come to work with our community, with our families, with our students and each other. So that's fun when I visit and talk about.
Nice work.
Well said, thank you.
Yeah, so page number 9, I just took this language out of our new acceptable use policy. So we just updated that somewhere, I don't know, in the middle of the last school year. It was a template from WASB, and we just wanted to make sure that people kind of understood, you know, that no privacy in your work stuff idea. And then also that anything you do, that you create, that you make for the district, while you're working in the district, on behalf of the district, is the district's. And it is not yours. No, you might use it someplace else, but we still also have it and own it too. Okay, so, just, and like I said, that kind of, we already took from something that we already have and is already cited in this section.
We
But
both
just-
felt that it was an important aspect to be represented in our handbooks.
Agreed.
Like I did this handbook fresh from the one that was before I scrapped it. This is not my handbook. When I leave, I don't delete this handbook.
Right.
It stays. I'm sure people would love to see it deleted, but it stays.
You didn't like waterproof maybe?
No, no. No, I probably shouldn't even say that. I copied it from something. So we just added that, like I said, it's already someplace. Let's see.
15.
Oh, 15? 13? Oh, 13, I just added a line, the district, this is in our nepotism section, the district reserves the right to assign relatives or members of the same household as defined up inside there to different work sites. Every once in a while, family drama spills into the workplace, and we always have the right to move anybody anywhere for any reason really, because you either work for the district as a whole, not an individual site, or you sign a contract with the district. You don't actually sign a contract for the site, but like I said, usually this is always going well, every once in a while it doesn't. I'm sure you can imagine. Number 19, page 19, I'm sorry, page 19, added a criminal background check. Just so that people understand that we do it when you get hired. We may choose to do it on promotion or change of assignment. And that I've had a lot of this appeals, so I am the appeal, and then my decision is final. We don't have some big drawn out appeals process, if your background check was denied.
And it's only done upon hire and then it's discretionary after that, it's not like on like every 3 years. I know a hospital has to do it every 3 years, it's
I think they do for their
Caregiver
caregiver,
background
but we are not caregivers by statute.
Alright.
So we don't have anybody who.
So what if someone gets a, title charge,
Certified staff have to
certified
do,
staff, or,
have to do background checks through the state of
Oh,
Wisconsin.
through state every 5 years.
Yeah, so we have to
Okay.
do updated, everybody, principals, superintendents,
gotcha,
directors,
Okay.
teachers.
and that's for licensure, so,
GPI licensure.
okay,
So we don't do them all the time. That being said, we can if we want to. If one of our employees gets in trouble, usually the corresponding police department or district attorney's office will send us a letter and let us know that this person who works with us has this charge. We seem to find out in some way, shape, or form.
Usually not the employee or sometimes the employee.
I would say it's rarely the employee that tells you.
So we don't have and I guess I should know, but we don't have a policy that says if,
We do,
that you
that's
have to
already in
report?
there,
Okay.
somewhere else.
Self-reporting.
So there is self-reporting there.
okay,
By the time we get to what happened, it's probably, doesn't even matter anyway, because what they did is problematic enough without that provision, but yes, we do have it in here someplace.
Thank you.
Yeah, on page 6. That's been in there the whole time.
Hey, that's a good pickup. It's a good pickup.
You should cite that there for
I can.
for self-disclosure.
Yeah, page 6.
I knew it was there.
So we usually find out, like I said, we usually always find out, and then, people damn it anyway. And then also, just because this has happened to me a few times now this year, it hadn't really happened to me in this district until recently. But people, we run a background check on you and people want a copy of it so they can use it in other places, and that's not how it works. So when we run a background check on you, that was background check we ran on you. If your university or your new employer or anybody else needs a background check, that's for them to run on you, not for us to give you ours. And then honestly, sometimes they're sold, I'm like, I don't even know why somebody would want this, because you started working here 10 years ago and you could have committed all
So-
kinds of crimes by then. So I don't have.
is there a law, it's like, if you run a background check on me, I'm entitled to my background report?
Yeah, you already get it from the company we use.
Okay.
So when we run a background check on you, you'll get a copy of your report if you actually have a criminal record. If you have a criminal record, you don't get anything, just get an email that says that. If you have a criminal record by law, because we run them through a third party, you get a copy of it.
Okay.
And then you have a chance to appeal with that company beforehand, before they release it to us, to say that's not me, or that got something or other changed, expunged, whatever. And so you work through
With
that
them.
company first.
Yep.
Then if they still clear it on through us, like I said, I give people like one chance to appeal to me. And I try to make it clear, you have to prove to me that that's like your evil twin brother, or it got expunged but not, with all the court paperwork, maybe even your lawyer. It's not because, but I didn't do it. I get a lot of the, but I didn't do it, but you got convicted of it. So I'm not the next jury level, process, so. Yeah, it's fun. Let's see, I guess I had more on there, district property. Added a sentence, we just got new things, new technology in the district, brand new laptops. It was like district-wide for certified staff, and then a few of us who had been here long enough to get the
She looked at me, not me,
Not you.
I kept my old one.
well, let's not say that I might have kept my old one too. Okay, so I had a lemon though.
Yeah,
It's been
yeah,
fixed
you
like
did.
4 times.
And I had a Chromebook, a little Chromebook.
So we all got new stuff. So almost the entire district got new stuff. And so we'd like to keep our stuff as new as possible. So employees may not alter, decorate, or modify any district issued property such as laptops, tablets, and ID badges, because apparently this has become the new middle school locker where we put all of our favorite decor.
Stickers.
So we're not gonna do that. They're gonna just stay boring and gray. And then also I added this in just because we have had a little bit of concern and we didn't really have a specific place to point to it. The district will seek payment for the replacement value of any unreturned or damaged property. I mean, we always could, but just to say it.
Can you take it from wages, like the last paycheck, like if they were leaving, or do you have to actually?
So first we have to, it's preferred to bill them. You can deduct things from people's wages as long as their final wages on that paycheck are still more than minimum wage averaged out. So you can't drop you can't drop somebody's wages by deductions for something like this and have them fall below minimum wage. Usually we just try to get it separate, but if we can't, we have that. Okay. Page 20. I don't know, job abandonment, that's just, page 20 is kind of basic. We just clarified it a little bit, it's work days in job abandonment, and it's not subject to the grievance procedure. Job abandonment is considered resignation, if you just didn't show up enough. And 21, reclassification. We've had some individual employees ask for their job to be reclassified to a higher job class and pay grade. And I really need that to follow more of the hierarchy of that department. And so, you know, it's possible that over time your job changed enough that it could be different, but I need that coming from whomever the division head is or the principal, not directly from the employee. I mean, it should be kind of obvious, but we didn't have a section on it. I've gotten enough of them to decide to do it. I don't know, this is a lot of clarifying. Page 32. Added outside employment during leave, pretty much that, when you're using sick leave, FMLA, bereavement, jury duty, paid personal days, unpaid personal days, or unpaid medical, you can't also go work someplace else during that time that we're paying you or allowing leave, but you obviously are allowed to work when you're on military leave for the military, and then you actually can work while you're on vacation. So like, let's say, you're a 12-month employee and you always take off for state fair because you work at state fair at your family's booth. You can use vacation to work. You cannot work if you're on those other types of leave. So I just wanna make that clear inside the handbook. And then, down below, also just made it clear that, if you are on an unpaid leave of absence, meaning that you don't qualify for FMLA or it's not a medical leave, that we will not necessarily hold your position open for you. The supervisor has the right to post that position and hire somebody into it, and that you are kind of, you know, maybe taking a gamble, if you choose to take that type of leave. So we do put those in the letters that we give to people, but it wasn't actually in the handbook. Okay, let me just make sure I don't have anything. I don't think there's anything in the appendices that's really exciting. I added dental to EAs because we made that change, but I hadn't actually changed the handbook yet. So, and then,
We're excited to continue
so
that.
where it made it into the handbook. And then, for professional, technical, and administrators, they received, Caitlin said, the different raises. They received a 2% raise, and we had talked about this as a board separately. They were given an extra week of vacation, so I just put that in there, but there is this asterisk, because we do have some hourly staff, in the professional technical group, and they got the 4.12 as hourly staff versus salaried staff. So there's a little asterisk for that, and then obviously just some name changes for things that have changed, so we got the right job title. And then yes, in an election year, I didn't make any changes to it, but when we roll out the new handbook, we can highlight it. You know, these presidential election years, nobody cares about the other election years. It's only the presidential election years everybody pays attention to. We do have on page 13 a political activity section. Like I said, I think presidential years bring out more political activity than the run-of-the-mill year. So this has actually been in the handbook, even prior to the big changes we made in 2021, we've always had this. And just, to real quickly go through it, number one, that while we are actually working in the presence of our students, be it as our actual job class or some other position we have in the district where we're with our students, that we are not soliciting, promoting, any of that kind of stuff for any political activity, be it school board, be it president, the whole gamut of what we could have, that we don't actually engage in that activity of in some way, like I said, promoting, soliciting, or supporting, or not supporting any candidate, and it lists all the things. Number two is, well, this maybe happens a little less, but if you are actually running and you're an employee of the district, you're not allowed to solicit anything for your own campaign during work or on the work site. And you may not just go building to building, asking people to support you. We do have, I think every once in a while, an opportunity at Community Ed and Rec where they have an event where, people might be able to have a table or do something like that, but that is outside of the school district. And so, if you're an educational assistant running for some type of office, you may not campaign for yourself or solicit donations or any kind of other support during the workday or inside our buildings or hanging anything inside our buildings. Number three, you can't use your classroom, the building, or your students to in any way support or not support any candidate for all the public offices. So in our classrooms inside our buildings, we don't hang signs for candidates, we don't hang political posters, messages, stickers, just the things. So we don't use our classrooms or our buildings or our students or ourselves in any way to support or not support any candidate for office. Number four, no one's allowed to use our stuff to do any of that, so you can't use our copy machine, you can't use our email, you can't, use our folders, whatever it is that we make, our paper clips, none of our stuff can be used by anyone for that. And then number five, we do have board policy and procedure 341, teaching about controversial issues. And so this section number 5 kind of goes back to speak to how we want to be objective and show neutrality when we're talking about things and to present various sides of an issue in a balanced manner. Obviously, in a school district, especially I think as you get to the middle and high school, we teach civics, we teach social studies, we teach the things where we're naturally talking about stuff that has to do with elections or presidents or I don't know, we talk about governors maybe. We talk about those things and those things might come up. And so we already do have a policy and procedure in place for our teachers who might actually be teaching in subject areas, or might choose to somehow add that to what they're already talking about in their class, which hopefully they stick to the curriculum. But we already have things that guide that, and we stay neutral and objective and balanced as we're doing that. And most traditional curriculums kind of help you do that already, but as a reminder to folks, especially as we come up on a big election here, that it's very important that we remember that we're teachers, not political advocates, while we're in the classroom or in the building.
So as you're preparing training material for new associates as well as returning associates, will some of the changes you make in here, including that one in particular, be reviewed with staff?
Yeah, so once this is actually agreed upon, obviously I'm gonna need to format it, change table of contents, all that. But then last year I did it as well because we made some significant changes last year. I created what turned out to be a 2-page, 1 page both sides, document where I had the page number and then the title, and then the what was, change, add, delete. And so that'll be for all the things that we actually made a change to, but I absolutely can add this either on there or separately, because it will just, there's no way around it. It is the chalk of everyone, right? I mean, we live in a very televised social media, information is always around you world. So yes, we can absolutely make it a focal point when we send out the handbook. This will also be the handbook, that sheet, and anything else we wanna add will be in Safe Schools, all the trainings that everybody does at the beginning of the year, so this will actually be its own in there as well, where people are then saying that they've read it, reviewed, they probably just read the 2-pager sheet, but they've read it, they've reviewed it, and then they're signing off that they've done that, and we collect those every year from everybody.
One thing that, I think we talked in the past for verbiage on work from home. I think we talked about putting some verbiage in here, like on the, for example, the work days for teachers.
Yeah, I didn't talk about that. I didn't bring it up in the director's meeting, so.
Yeah, I think that's one thing, I think we should visit. I mean, we talk about added benefits for staff. I mean, whether I grade a paper at my office at work or grade a paper at home, as long as the paper gets graded.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, the teachers requested via some survey, I don't have it with me, but on the calendar, the staff calendar especially, it's more articulated than the family calendar. We obviously have some days that are professional development days where the kids don't come to school and the teachers are in some type of learning, staff meetings, learning, whatever.
Yep.
Then, like I said, on the staff calendar, it's more identified, because the kids don't care what the teachers are doing, they're not in school, they're just not in school. Some of the time, some half days, some full days, I think it's maybe like 2 total days, between like 1 full day and 2 half days. Teachers have work days, we call them, where that time is specifically their own. It is connected to the reporting times, so it's connected to quarter and semester grading periods, where they have work time to finish up their grading and enter any grades and report card information. They have asked that they be allowed to remote work on those, like I said, it's either 2 or 2.5 days, depending on if you're secondary or elementary, it's just how it worked out. So they've asked for that.
I think it's a nice benefit, right? It doesn't cost the district any money. It is a benefit for our teachers. We do have administration that periodically works from home. So I think, and you hold them to the same standards, right? Work's getting done, work's not getting done. It becomes on discipline, so I don't see it being taken advantage of, because you're still held to those performance metrics.
Your grades are still due.
Exactly. So I think that's an added benefit we can give to our teachers, as.
As we take away flip-flops, we can add
Yeah, there you go.
stay home on work days.
I mean, what are you guys'
You can
thoughts?
wear flip-flops at work home.
Be careful, those flip-flops at home. It's your own insurance. Unless you're remote working, you might be able to sneak it in as workers' comp. Talk to me later.
So yeah, that's just one thing I think that, see consideration for, and maybe some verbiage in the
Yeah, I'm,
book for that.
you're more academic side of the house.
Oh,
I'm over
Bring
the
it up for discussion.
well, I opened, I know it came up, we've talked about it, after some survey feedback, so I think we just need to talk to the principals about it to make sure that we're not
Yeah.
interrupting any preset work that, or
Right.
professional development that might be in person. I mean,
Well,
So-
professional development's different, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, grading papers is another story.
what I'm thinking about is the curriculum, we have a lot of new curriculum, we've already started with a large amount of professional development in the summer with curriculum. So there's some, but there's more than that, so I'm just not sure how that all is shaped out right now, I mean,
We'll do the research to come up with something.
yeah, we have Amy, Ms. Regal has a professional development calendar for the year, so it wouldn't take long for us to get a good handle on that, but I would just wanna look at that and make sure we're not taking anything away
Sure.
from what the principals have already set up.
I just had a question in regards to our union, since we just recently recertified, I don't see a section in there in regards to, I don't know, activity pertaining to that.
Right to order.
So it actually kind of falls under political activity.
Oh, okay.
That's the section that kind of captures that, that's actually what it's considered.
Oh.
And so then down below, it all, it says that we don't require you to join any organization, and we don't prevent you from joining any organization. But usually your union activity falls in your political activity, but I can be more specific too.
Well, maybe it's just a simple statement that says that an activity is covered by the policy, it doesn't have to be.
It's covered by some of
I think we
it,
should
they are allowed to use our email. There's a little caveat there. They are allowed to use our email and our lounges. So I can do a little carve out. The teacher lounge, like they're allowed to hang up I don't know, like a sign or whatever, in the lounge. And then there is a decision out there, I can't remember the name, but that allows them to use district email off hours. So they have to send it before or after their workday or during their lunch. Prep time is considered work time. Yeah, I can add something to make that more clear. But a lot of the same things fall in there.
Anything regarding Title IX?
So our Title IX is the same, that's in here.
Changes based on.
So yeah, that's like, there's a student one and a staff one, and they're staying the same for right now.
No changes.
Thank you. And honestly, our handbook is pretty generic to it. So if anything ever happens for us, we'll be changing the policies first and then, see if we actually need to bring the handbook or is it generic enough that it doesn't matter.
You've been actively working with our legal to make sure we work on that.
Yeah, we're in a good spot.
He's been pretty much on top of that.
We're in a good spot right now, and we look at it every day.
So you'll just send this out as if changes like anything else throughout the year, if you change your policy or something, this just says a fresh language.
So board policy, it says it in the beginning, all the preambles here. Board policy always wins over the handbook. So if we do make a change to board policy and for some reason it didn't make it into the handbook or we didn't remember that something we changed in the policy was also in the handbook somewhere, board policy and procedure always wins the battle of what stands. So we wouldn't wanna leave it. Once we know, we wanna make sure that everything matches, we don't want conflicting information. But if it did happen, the board policy always is the law above the handbook.
Okay.
So then I was going to bring it Monday to the full board.
Is there any other changes?
So if anybody has anything,
That's what I'm thinking.
I just wanted to ask, we were actually just going over the policy and the controversial, we were actually going over that.
We
Are
were,
they going to say 341?
it's 341.
Is it still 341? Okay, I just wanted to make sure that.
The PRG is 381, but we were gonna keep it 341.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we're gonna do that.
341's gonna stay the same. The PRG version is 381, but we're striking 381 and keeping it 341. So the base policy for PRG is labeled a little different, but we're just gonna keep it 341.
Okay, so it'll still stay 341. Okay.
Yep, that's not gonna change.
yeah, we don't cite any language from it, just to go look at it,
Yeah.
I
whatever.
wanna make sure it was consistent to what we were doing.
I think we kept a lot of our own numbers, just to be
Procedure part.
consistent.
That's safe with the changes.
So yeah, if anybody has anything that you think of, we do need to, post Friday. If you really think of anything,
Okay.
and then, anything that we talked about tonight, in the track changes, not only will it be red, but I'll highlight it in yellow or something too, so people can tell that it's a change in between the two meetings.
I think I noticed one thing, just a little indentation thing.
Oh, the formatting might be weird.
That's why I was
It has,
gonna,
it's like built in,
okay.
so once I accept the changes,
That fixes it.
it usually should balance itself back out.
Dress code.
It takes me like a whole day to format once we approve everything, just for finally to it, but yes, I will make sure it looks normal again.
Formatting is difficult when going from Word to Google to, yeah.
That's why you just use Word.
So I'm gonna assign it to somebody.
You always say that.
So will I.
I'm gonna delegate that, no, it will look nice, it will look nice.
And then the page numbering seems
Oh,
like that'll
so,
reformat.
so once so when you track changes, because it keeps all the stuff,
Oh, and it'll do it all?
it like, it just really moves everything.
Yeah.
So once I accept it, I will go back and make sure that the table of contents aligns with it, and then I'll
Yeah.
redo the table. Like, I'm not gonna
That
make
sounds
that a
really
track
fun.
change, because
Yeah, yeah.
honestly, then it just moves your page numbers again.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Once it goes out to the masses, I will have double checked that the table of contents actually matches. And I have somebody else do that too, so it's not just me. I
Okay.
have somebody else then go back and look at it,
Yeah,
cause
'cause that sounds
sometimes,
really fun.
well, sometimes when you're living in something
No,
for a
why
while,
not?
you don't notice an error because in your head it's right, so we will make sure it all matches.
Okay, so I guess that brings us to the end of the meeting. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
A motion.
And I will
Motion by
second.
Ms. Bolzmann and second by Mr. Whopper. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.
Thank you all.
When's your next meeting?
Yep.
When's your next meeting? Is it always the same?